Illinois Senator Dick Durbin is here. He's the #2 Democrat in the Senate and chairman of the subcommittee that oversees funding for intelligence. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
The news today is that the head of the NSA is going to release new details where more than a dozen terrorist plots were foiled in the U.S. and in other countries. Is that enough to quiet some of the privacy concerns?
I think it's an important development. I'm glad they're doing it. And this is an issue I've been on for years. I've offered amendments on the floor of the Senate and in the Senate Judiciary Committee to try to narrow the gathering of information to what we need to be safe and not more. And now we're going to take a closer look. What I need to know on these cases, if we had known the suspect and gone after those phone records after some suspicion, could we have come up with the same information? Rather than the approach currently being used, gather everything, hold everything, wait to see if maybe Charlie Rose's name's going to pop up at some point in the future so you can go back on the phone records of 4 or 5 years ago. Can you gather that information as needed with suspects, or do you have to gather everything in advance? That's the key question.
You say you've been working on this for a long time.
I sure have.
Has there been pushback and resistance on security grounds, and therefore no changes have been made?
That's right. Initially, under the Patriot Act, the provision that I supported was there, and it protected the general population.
Do you expect anything to change now?
It can. It depends on the appetite of the American people for privacy. It's an interesting thing because you get different measurement in these polls as to whether people think security is paramount or privacy is paramount. Today I think it's security by at least a small margin. But if people think their privacy is important, I would just say this.
It's the balance that matters.
It's the balance, but also this. Think not only of what the government is doing to your privacy, think of what's happening to your privacy in general.
I think this is interesting. You're very close with President Obama. You're both from the same state, and yet you seem to be expressing real concerns about the tests this administration has taken.
I am. And the president, incidentally, was a co-sponsor of my measure when he was in the Senate, which would have narrowed the scope of this information gathering.
I did a conversation with him yesterday, and it airs tonight and here tomorrow. He's very concerned about finding the right balance, he says, and
I am too.
He's pushing hard to see and to be able to figure that very point out.
Do you think there needs to be a better job explaining to the American people what we're trying to get?
Yes.
So that we're not confused about what's being revealed? Absolutely.
And Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley, my co-senators from the state of Oregon, were working this together. They want to take some of the secrecy out of this secrecy law. So Americans have a better idea of what our goals are and how we're trying to achieve them. It really is important to stay safe, #1. But #2, it's important to really protect our values.
We want to get to 2 quick things, Syria and immigration.
Go ahead on Syria.
Syria, do you think the president made the right decision? And should he have gone further and provided more heavy artillery to help the rebels?
I think he made the right decision. This decision, incidentally, was made through our friends long ago. Military supplies have been coming in to support those who are fighting Assad for a long time from our friends and allies in the region.
I can tell you that there is some talk from the region that because of how the president was before, they have not sent all that they could. They were waiting for a go-ahead from the president.
That's true. And the president's trying to take care. We don't want to turn weapons loose into the hands of those who oppose Assad, who also oppose the United States. For goodness sakes, we don't want them firing on our allies, friends, or American servicemen, God forbid.
So how do you protect that?
Well, that's why they're carefully trying to gauge which weapons go to which forces. General Idris, for example, is someone we supported with substantial resources, and I'm sure going to do our best to strengthen his hand.
What is the goal in Syria? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And by arming the rebels, is that moving us closer to the goal?
The goal is for Assad to leave and for a stable government to follow. That's a pretty hard, I might add, because Assad enjoys a reputation among many minorities as their protector. Many times Christians will come to see me in my office in Chicago from Syria, and they'll say, for goodness sakes, I know you hate Assad, but he protects the Christians against the extremists.
Not just because of the Alawites.
Yeah, the Alawites obviously make that point. The same thing was I learned when I went to Armenia and met with their president. He said, you may not like Assad, but 100,000 Armenians are safe under Assad.
Can we turn to the issue of immigration? You are a member of the Gang of Eight, along with Senator Rubio as well as others. The Senate defeated an amendment to delay the citizenship process until the border is more secure. What's going to happen on immigration? Is this going to get done?
We have a chance to pass it by next week. This week we'll be debating it. Next week we hope to pass it before we leave for the 4th of July.
Do you need
recess.
70+ votes, as some people say?
We need 60 by Senate standards. The more the better, though. I just don't want to compromise the basic values in this bill. We worked for 4 months, had 30 meetings. parties, John McCain, Chuck Schumer, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, myself, Bob Menendez, we worked all this time to come up with a basic framework. And if we are going to abandon this now to pick up 2, 3, 4, or 5 votes, that's a big mistake.
Some people argue that the decisions on this immigration reform could be determinative of the politics of the future.
Definitely will be. There's no question in my mind that America is changing, more diverse. The voters are changing, and they're going to look to those parties and candidates who are receptive to this change. If your party candidate for president is saying leave, as in self-deport, it really says, well, you don't care much for immigrants. And people say, well, that means the Hispanic vote. The number 2 vote for the president after African Americans was the Asian American vote. They're listening to this immigration debate just as closely as Hispanic Americans.
We're all paying attention. Thank you, Senator Durbin.
Thank you.
Really good to see you.